Have you ever noticed that the harder you chase something, the further it seems to move away? The more desperately you seek happiness, the more restless you become. The more you crave success, the more pressure you place upon yourself. The more you long for love, recognition, or approval, the more anxious you feel when they do not arrive. It almost seems as if life has a strange paradox built into it. We believe that constant striving will bring us peace, yet so often it produces the opposite. Instead of fulfillment, we experience exhaustion. Instead of contentment, we feel frustrated by what is still missing. Many people spend years believing that if they simply work harder, try harder, or hold on tighter, everything will finally fall into place. Yet despite all their effort, true peace remains just out of reach. This is not because they are incapable or unworthy. It is because they are searching in the wrong direction. The greatest obstacle to peace is often not the absence of what we desire, but our attachment to obtaining it. Modern society encourages us to keep chasing. We are told to chase success, chase wealth, chase relationships, chase opportunities, and even chase happiness itself. Everywhere we look, there is another goal waiting to be achieved, another standard to meet, another version of ourselves we are expected to become. At first glance, there seems to be nothing wrong with ambition. Growth and effort are valuable parts of life. However, there is a subtle difference between pursuing something with wisdom and chasing it out of fear. When our actions are driven by the belief that we are incomplete without a certain outcome, we begin living in a constant state of tension. Our minds become trapped in the future, convinced that life will only begin once we finally reach the next milestone. As a result, we overlook the present moment entirely. Days turn into months, months become years, and before we realize it, we have spent much of our lives running after things that promised fulfillment but never truly satisfied the heart. Ancient Buddhist wisdom offers a completely different perspective. Rather than teaching us to force life into the shape we want, it invites us to understand the natural flow of existence. Like a river, life moves according to its own rhythm. A river does not struggle to reach the ocean. It does not become anxious when it encounters rocks or bends along the way. It simply continues flowing, adapting to every obstacle without losing its direction. Human beings, however, often resist this natural flow. We cling to expectations. We demand specific outcomes. We become attached to how life should unfold. And when reality fails to match our expectations, suffering appears. The problem is rarely life itself. More often, it is our resistance to life. The tighter we grip, the more tension we create. The more we insist that everything happen according to our plans, the more disappointed we become when it does not. Yet something remarkable happens when we begin to loosen our grip. We discover that peace was never waiting at the finish line. It was quietly available all along, hidden beneath our endless striving. This does not mean giving up on your dreams or abandoning your responsibilities. Buddhist wisdom has never encouraged laziness or passivity. Instead, it teaches the art of acting without attachment. You can work hard without becoming consumed by the outcome. You can love deeply without trying to possess another person. You can pursue meaningful goals without believing that your happiness depends on achieving them. This subtle shift changes everything. Instead of forcing life, you begin cooperating with it. Instead of chasing every opportunity out of fear, you make wise choices with patience and trust. And when you stop measuring your worth by what you have not yet obtained, an unexpected sense of freedom begins to emerge. In the next part, we will explore why the human mind becomes trapped in endless chasing and why letting go is often the first step toward receiving what you have been searching for all along. If letting go allows life to flow more naturally, then why do we keep chasing? Why does the human mind constantly believe that the next achievement, the next relationship, or the next possession will finally bring lasting happiness? The answer lies in a habit so deeply rooted that most people never notice it. From childhood, we are taught to believe that fulfillment exists somewhere outside ourselves. We are told that if we study harder, earn more money, become more successful, or gain the approval of others, then happiness will naturally follow. At first, this belief seems reasonable. After all, achieving meaningful goals can certainly improve our lives. But without realizing it, we slowly become dependent on the idea that our peace always belongs to the future. Instead of appreciating what already exists, the mind becomes obsessed with what is still missing. It whispers, just one more achievement, just one more opportunity, just one more success. And so the chase continues, often without an end. Buddhist wisdom describes this endless pursuit as a form of craving. Craving is not simply wanting something. It is the belief that you cannot be truly content until you obtain it. There is an enormous difference between these two states of mind. You can work toward a goal while remaining peaceful, or you can become emotionally attached to the outcome and allow it to determine your happiness. The first approach creates freedom. The second creates suffering. Imagine holding a handful of sand. If you keep your hand open, the sand rests naturally in your palm. But the tighter you squeeze, the faster it slips through your fingers. Life often works in the same way. The harder we cling to specific outcomes, the more anxious, frustrated, and disappointed we become. We begin forcing situations that should unfold naturally. We overthink every decision. We worry about every delay. Instead of enjoying the journey, we become consumed by reaching the destination. Ironically, the very happiness we are chasing becomes impossible to experience because our attention is always fixed on what comes next. This pattern can be seen in almost every area of life. A person believes they will finally be happy once they receive a promotion. When the promotion comes, satisfaction lasts only a short time before another goal appears. Someone else believes they will find peace once they enter the perfect relationship. Yet even after finding love, new fears emerge: the fear of losing it, the fear of not being enough, or the fear that happiness might not last. Others spend years chasing wealth, recognition, or social status, only to discover that each accomplishment creates another desire waiting to be fulfilled. The cycle never truly ends because the problem was never the goal itself. The problem was believing that lasting fulfillment could only exist somewhere beyond the present moment. The mind becomes like a traveler who keeps chasing the horizon, never realizing that no matter how far they walk, the horizon always remains in the distance. This is why Buddhist teachings gently invite us to shift our perspective. Instead of asking, "What else do I need before I can be happy?" they encourage us to ask, "What am I overlooking right now?" Peace does not suddenly appear after achieving every desire. It begins the moment we stop believing that our lives are incomplete. When you release the constant need to chase, something extraordinary happens. Your actions become lighter. Your decisions become clearer. You still pursue meaningful goals, but they no longer define your worth. You work with dedication instead of desperation. You love without trying to control. You trust that what truly belongs in your life will arrive in its own time. This quiet confidence is not passive. It is deeply powerful. It frees you from the exhausting cycle of endless striving and allows you to experience the richness of the present moment. And in the next part, we will explore why trying to control every outcome is one of the greatest obstacles to the natural flow of life. If craving keeps us trapped in an endless cycle of chasing, then the next question becomes even more important. Why do we feel such a strong need to control everything? Why do we believe that if we plan carefully enough, work hard enough, or worry long enough, life will eventually unfold exactly as we wish? At first, control feels comforting. It gives us the illusion of certainty in an uncertain world. We make detailed plans, set expectations, and imagine how every situation should unfold. When reality follows those expectations, we feel relieved. But when life takes a different path, frustration quickly appears. We resist what is happening because it does not match the picture we created in our minds. Without realizing it, we begin fighting reality itself. This invisible struggle consumes an enormous amount of emotional energy. The problem is not that life changes. The problem is that we insist it should not. Think about how often people suffer twice. First, they experience a difficult situation. Then they create even greater suffering by refusing to accept that the situation exists. A relationship ends, and instead of allowing themselves to heal, they spend months wishing the past could return. A career opportunity disappears, and they endlessly replay what they could have done differently. Unexpected challenges arise, and they become trapped, asking, "Why is this happening to me?" rather than, "How can I move forward from here?" The event itself may be painful, but resistance multiplies that pain. Buddhist wisdom teaches that suffering often grows from our refusal to accept impermanence. Everything in life changes. Seasons change. People change. Circumstances change. Even our own thoughts and emotions constantly come and go. Yet the mind desperately wants permanence in a world where nothing remains the same. This impossible demand creates endless disappointment. Imagine trying to hold water tightly in your hands. The harder you squeeze, the faster it slips away. Now, imagine gently cupping your hands beneath the flowing water. You still experience it, but you no longer fight against its nature. Life works in much the same way. We are invited to participate in it, not possess it. The more we try to force outcomes, the more tension we create within ourselves. This does not mean we should stop making plans or pursuing meaningful goals. Planning is wisdom. Attachment to the plan is where suffering begins. There is a profound difference between saying, "I will do my best," and saying, "Things must happen exactly this way." The first attitude creates peace because it focuses on your effort. The second creates anxiety because it depends on circumstances you can never fully control. When you understand this distinction, your entire relationship with life begins to change. This is why many people experience an unexpected breakthrough only after they stop forcing everything. They stop chasing approval, and genuine relationships begin to form. They stop obsessing over success, and their work becomes more creative and enjoyable. They stop trying to control every outcome, and new opportunities appear that they never could have predicted. It is not because the universe suddenly starts rewarding them. It is because they are no longer blinded by fear, attachment, and constant resistance. Their minds become calmer, allowing them to recognize possibilities that were always there. They begin acting from clarity instead of desperation. Instead of swimming against the current, they learn to move with it. This is the quiet wisdom that Buddhism has taught for centuries. Peace does not come from controlling life. Peace comes from learning to trust its natural unfolding while doing your best in each present moment. And in the next part, we will discover why letting go is not a sign of weakness, but one of the greatest forms of inner strength a person can ever develop. If craving keeps us trapped in an endless cycle of chasing, then the next question becomes even more important. Why do we feel such a strong need to control everything? Why do we believe that if we plan carefully enough, work hard enough, or worry long enough, life will eventually unfold exactly as we wish? At first, control feels comforting. It gives us the illusion of certainty in an uncertain world. We make detailed plans, set expectations, and imagine how every situation should unfold. When reality follows those expectations, we feel relieved. But when life takes a different path, frustration quickly appears. We resist what is happening because it does not match the picture we created in our minds. Without realizing it, we begin fighting reality itself. This invisible struggle consumes an enormous amount of emotional energy. The problem is not that life changes, the problem is that we insist it should not. Think about how often people suffer twice. First, they experience a difficult situation. Then they create even greater suffering by refusing to accept that the situation exists. A relationship ends, and instead of allowing themselves to heal, they spend months wishing the past could return. A career opportunity disappears, and they endlessly replay what they could have done differently. Unexpected challenges arise, and they become trapped, asking, "Why is this happening to me?" rather than, "How can I move forward from here?" The event itself may be painful, but resistance multiplies that pain. Buddhist wisdom teaches that suffering often grows from our refusal to accept impermanence. Everything in life changes. Seasons change. People change. Circumstances change. Even our own thoughts and emotions constantly come and go. Yet the mind desperately wants permanence in a world where nothing remains the same. This impossible demand creates endless disappointment. Imagine trying to hold water tightly in your hands. The harder you squeeze, the faster it slips away. Now imagine gently cupping your hands beneath the flowing water. You still experience it, but you no longer fight against its nature. Life works in much the same way. We are invited to participate in it, not possess it. The more we try to force outcomes, the more tension we create within ourselves. This does not mean we should stop making plans or pursuing meaningful goals. Planning is wisdom. Attachment to the plan is where suffering begins. There is a profound difference between saying, "I will do my best," and saying, "Things must happen exactly this way." The first attitude creates peace because it focuses on your effort. The second creates anxiety because it depends on circumstances you can never fully control. When you understand this distinction, your entire relationship with life begins to change. This is why many people experience an unexpected breakthrough only after they stop forcing everything. They stop chasing approval, and genuine relationships begin to form. They stop obsessing over success, and their work becomes more creative and enjoyable. They stop trying to control every outcome, and new opportunities appear that they never could have predicted. It is not because the universe suddenly starts rewarding them, it is because they are no longer blinded by fear, attachment, and constant resistance. Their minds become calmer, allowing them to recognize possibilities that were always there. They begin acting from clarity instead of desperation. Instead of swimming against the current, they learn to move with it. This is the quiet wisdom that Buddhism has taught for centuries. Peace does not come from controlling life. Peace comes from learning to trust its natural unfolding while doing your best in each present moment. And in the next part, we will discover why letting go is not a sign of weakness, but one of the greatest forms of inner strength a person can ever develop. There comes a quiet moment in the life of almost every person who has spent years chasing. It is not a dramatic event. There are no fireworks or sudden revelations. Instead, it is a simple realization that arrives after countless disappointments. They begin to understand that no matter how tightly they hold on, they cannot force life to unfold according to their wishes. They cannot make someone love them. They cannot guarantee success through worry. They cannot control time, chance, or the countless circumstances that shape every human life. At first, this realization feels uncomfortable because the mind has become accustomed to believing that constant effort alone can solve every problem. But gradually, something begins to shift. Instead of asking, "How can I make everything happen?" they begin asking, "How can I live wisely regardless of what happens?" This small change in perspective transforms everything. It replaces desperation with patience, fear with trust, and tension with peace. Surprisingly, it is often at this point that life begins opening doors that once seemed permanently closed. Many people have experienced this paradox without fully understanding it. The job opportunity appears only after they stop obsessing over every interview. A meaningful relationship enters their life after they stop desperately searching for someone to complete them. Creative ideas begin flowing once they stop forcing themselves to be perfect. Solutions emerge after they stop overthinking every possible outcome. This is not magic, nor is it a mysterious reward from the universe. It happens because a calm mind sees possibilities that an anxious mind cannot. When fear dominates your thinking, your attention becomes narrow. You focus only on what might go wrong, what you still lack, or what you might lose. But when your mind becomes peaceful, your awareness expands. You notice opportunities that were always present. You respond more wisely. You speak with greater confidence. You make clearer decisions because your actions are no longer driven by panic. Life has not necessarily changed. You have changed. And because of that, your experience of life becomes entirely different. Buddhist wisdom reminds us that every living thing follows its own natural timing. A flower does not bloom because someone demands it. A tree does not produce fruit overnight, simply because we are impatient. Every season arrives exactly when it is ready. Yet, human beings often expect their own lives to move according to a schedule created by fear and comparison. We compare ourselves with friends, colleagues, or strangers on the internet. We believe we are falling behind because someone else achieved success earlier, found love sooner, or reached a goal before we did. This comparison creates unnecessary suffering because it ignores one simple truth. Every path unfolds differently. The timing of another person's life has nothing to do with yours. Just as no two trees grow at exactly the same speed, no two human journeys are meant to look identical. The moment you stop comparing your timeline with everyone else's, an incredible sense of relief begins to appear. You realize there is no race to win. There is only your own path to walk with awareness and patience. Perhaps this is what it truly means to let life flow naturally. It does not mean sitting back and waiting for miracles. It means participating fully in life while releasing the constant need to force every result. You continue working toward your goals, but you no longer measure your worth by how quickly they arrive. You continue loving people, but you stop trying to control how they feel about you. You continue planting seeds through your daily actions, trusting that the harvest will come when the conditions are right. This way of living creates a quiet confidence that cannot be shaken easily. You become less reactive, less fearful, and far more present. Instead of chasing every opportunity out of desperation, you begin attracting the right opportunities because your actions are guided by clarity rather than anxiety. This is the paradox that Buddhism has pointed toward for centuries. The less you cling to life, the more freely life is able to move through you. And in the final part, we will reflect on how embracing this wisdom can transform not only the way you pursue your dreams, but the way you experience every single day of your life. As you begin to let go of the need to chase and control every outcome, something subtle yet profound starts to change within you. The world around you may look exactly the same. You still face challenges, responsibilities, unexpected setbacks, and moments of uncertainty. But your relationship with those experiences becomes completely different. Instead of seeing every obstacle as proof that life is working against you, you begin to recognize that obstacles are often part of life's natural rhythm. Just as the seasons alternate between warmth and cold, growth and rest, every human journey contains periods of progress and periods of waiting. The peaceful mind no longer demands that every moment be pleasant. Instead, it learns to trust that every season has something valuable to teach. This trust does not eliminate difficulty, but it transforms the way difficulty is experienced. What once felt like punishment begins to feel like preparation. What once appeared to be failure often reveals itself as redirection. Life has not become easier. Your understanding of life has simply become wiser. One of the greatest lessons found in Buddhist wisdom is that peace is not something we discover after solving every problem. Peace is something we cultivate while problems continue to exist. Many people postpone their happiness until life becomes perfect. They tell themselves, "I will relax after I earn enough money. I will be happy after I find the right relationship. I will finally enjoy life after everything is under control." But that day rarely arrives because life is constantly changing. Every solution gives birth to a new challenge. Every achievement introduces new responsibilities. If peace depends on a perfect future, then peace will always remain beyond reach. The wise person understands this and chooses a different path. Rather than waiting for life to become calm, they learn how to remain calm within life. This is one of the greatest forms of freedom because it places your happiness where it has always belonged, within your own awareness, rather than within changing circumstances. Imagine standing beneath the sky during a storm. Dark clouds gather overhead, strong winds begin to blow, and heavy rain starts to fall. No one believes that the storm will last forever because they understand the nature of weather. Eventually, the clouds will pass, the wind will settle, and the sunlight will return. Yet when emotional storms appear within our own lives, we often forget this simple truth. We believe our sadness will never end. We imagine our anxiety will always remain. We fear that today's disappointment will define the rest of our future. Buddhist teachings gently remind us that thoughts, emotions, and circumstances share the same nature as the weather. They arise, remain for a while, and eventually fade away. The more we resist them, the longer they seem to linger. The more we observe them with patience and acceptance, the more naturally they pass. This understanding gives us incredible resilience because we stop identifying ourselves with temporary experiences. We realize that we are not the storm. We are the awareness that watches the storm come and go. When you truly embrace this way of living, chasing gradually loses its appeal. You no longer feel the need to force every opportunity, compare your progress with others, or constantly worry about what tomorrow might bring. Instead, you become deeply engaged with the present moment, knowing that this moment is the only place where life can actually be lived. You still set goals, but you no longer allow them to steal your peace. You still dream, but you are no longer imprisoned by expectations. You continue walking your path with dedication while trusting that each step has its own purpose, even when you cannot yet see the destination. This quiet confidence is the beginning of genuine freedom. It is the realization that life is not a race to be won, but a journey to be experienced with awareness, patience, and gratitude. And when you finally stop chasing what you believe will complete you, you often discover that nothing was ever missing. Everything you needed to experience peace was already waiting within you, patiently waiting for the moment you chose to slow down and simply allow life to flow. As we come to the end of this reflection, pause for just a moment and ask yourself a simple question. What have you been chasing for so long? Perhaps it is success. Perhaps it is wealth, love, recognition, or the approval of people around you. Perhaps you have been chasing a version of yourself that you believe will finally be worthy of happiness. There is nothing wrong with having dreams or working toward a better life. The problem begins when you believe that your peace exists somewhere beyond the present moment. For years, many people postpone living because they are waiting for the perfect circumstances. They tell themselves that happiness will come after one more achievement, one more opportunity, or one more victory. Yet every destination eventually becomes another starting point, and every accomplishment creates another desire. The finish line keeps moving because the restless mind is never satisfied for long. It always searches for something else to pursue. This is why so many people reach the goals they once dreamed about, only to discover that the lasting fulfillment they expected never truly arrived. Throughout this journey, we have explored a different way of living. We discovered that endless chasing is often driven by fear rather than wisdom. We learned that craving creates attachment, and attachment creates suffering. We saw that trying to control every outcome only fills the mind with anxiety because life has always followed its own rhythm. We also discovered that letting go is not surrender. It is the courage to release what was never ours to control. When you stop measuring your worth by achievements, relationships, or the opinions of others, you begin experiencing a freedom that cannot be purchased or earned. It grows quietly from within. This is the heart of Buddhist wisdom. Peace is not a reward waiting at the end of your journey. Peace is the quality you bring to every step of that journey. The destination may change countless times throughout your life, but the way you walk your path will determine whether you experience constant struggle or quiet contentment. Imagine waking up tomorrow without the heavy pressure to prove yourself to anyone. Imagine working hard because you enjoy the process rather than because you fear failure. Imagine loving people without trying to possess them or control how they feel about you. Imagine trusting that what is truly meant for your life cannot be destroyed by temporary delays or unexpected detours. This kind of trust is not blind optimism. It is a deep understanding that life has always been uncertain, and yet somehow you have continued moving forward. Every challenge you once believed would break you eventually became part of your growth. Every disappointment taught you something you could not have learned through success alone. Looking back, you may even realize that some of the greatest blessings in your life arrived through paths you never planned. This is why the wise person no longer fears uncertainty as much as before. They understand that life often unfolds in ways the mind could never predict. So from this day forward, carry one simple truth with you. Stop chasing what was never meant to be forced. Give your best effort in everything you do, but release your attachment to the outcome. Plant the seed with care, then allow time to do its work. Love with sincerity, but do not lose yourself trying to hold on to what wishes to leave. Pursue your dreams with dedication, but never believe that your value depends on reaching them. The more you trust the natural flow of life, the lighter your heart becomes. You begin noticing beauty in ordinary moments, finding gratitude in simple experiences, and discovering peace that no external achievement can provide. Perhaps this is what true freedom has always meant, not escaping life, but finally learning how to move with it instead of against it. Thank you for spending these moments with us. If this reflection brought you peace or a new perspective, consider subscribing to Silent Wisdom for more timeless lessons inspired by Buddhist philosophy. Until next time, remember this: when you stop chasing everything you think you need, you often discover that life has already been gently leading you toward exactly what your soul has been seeking all along.